All right, guys. We're back for another episode of the Marketing Box podcast. We have a special guest on today, Mr. Nick Richard from Geaux Chevrolet and Express Chevrolet in Tennessee. And man, how about them Tigers in Green Wave, man? What a great day yesterday. But we're gonna kick it, man. We're gonna talk car business. We're gonna talk hunting. We're gonna talk football and anything else that comes along, man. But Nick, I'm really glad to have you on today, man. I've followed your career. It's gotten really exciting over the last 5 or 6 years, man. And I wanted to have you on just to kind of celebrate, dude, just because I know what it's like, dude. You stepped out on that ledge and went for it, dude. And I think this is it's a great story, dude, to kind of unpack how you got here and, you know, let the world know a little bit about you, man, and then and share your story with people because I think it's a great story.
Absolutely. It's, you know, I know this is said a lot from people who have become successful, but for no cliches, all the praise and glory to God, right?
Yes, sir.
And to those who have paved the way before us, right, such as yourself, right? So coming up through this journey, right, you see people like yourself, your brother, you know, making it through that tough time, the last time the interest rates were 9-10%, right? I was with Wells Fargo at that time.
2008.
So 2008, right? I lost everything that I had, right? I was a rep for Wells Fargo. They pulled out of the state of Louisiana. I was left with my wife and I had 2 children at the time living in Madisonville, just built our dream home.
Oh, and, so you're a homeboy from here.
I'm from LaPlace.
Okay.
Raised in LaPlace, graduated from St. Charles in 93, went to Southern Miss for 5 years.
Was Frank Monica at St. Charles when you were there?
Frank Monica was not. Tim DeTillier was my coach.
Okay.
Through my sophomore year, and then Wade Kaiser.
Okay. Monica came after that?
Monica came right after us at some point.
You know Frank?
I know him. He's an unbelievable
pinky,
human being. Yes. Unbelievable leader of men, right? He has a natural gift to just lead young men into being, you know, grown men.
Oh, yeah. First time I met Frank Monica, it was interesting because he was the running back coach at Tulane when my brother was getting recruited, and he came in our house. Man, we live in this little bitty house in Metairie, man, and Frank comes in, and I remember he comes in, and they used to let us, the younger brothers, sit in the room. They'd say, hey, listen, you can't talk, but we got to sit there and listen when the recruiters would come in, because my brother was really highly recruited, man. He was a 4'4", 40 guy, wow. Bear Bryant. My parents met the Bear. He went to UCLA. He was, because Brother Martin ran the Wishbone with Bobby Conlon back then, and in Alabama was running the Wishbone. So he was the top, like, Wishbone running back in the country. He was a 9-700 meter guy, a 48-second 400 meter guy, and they called him White Smoke. But Frank Monica came in to the visit, and man, he had this incredible impact on me as a young kid because I'm like, his kindness, just the way that he explained to my brother what he was about to embark upon, man, it was like it made a lasting impression, and Frank and I stayed friends forever, man.
What a great guy to be friends with for that long. It's to be able to call on that guy in times of struggle.
Oh, man. Probably him, Hank Tierney, those are some of the best guys that I've met in the game. So you were working for Wells Fargo. What year was that?
2000. Back in 98. So in 2003 to 2006.
Wow.
Sometime in 2006 is when we decided, Wells was like just about done, right? A friend of ours, Adam Bowen, who worked for Rainbow at the time, came to work with me at the bank. Little do we know, right? We went back to Rainbow. So we left the bank, went back to Rainbow Imports here in Covington, and started working there. That's how I got into retail.
So you worked for the Gilliard boys?
I worked for So I worked for Lon and Lloyd there.
Yeah. My son's actually working with Lon right now on a couple of properties. This whole world down here, man, once you start to talk a little bit, dude, it's like everything's intertwined.
Yes. It does get really close.
Jeez, some feet.
Really, really, really close, right? It's amazing how just good people kind of find their way towards each other.
Yeah.
and then help along the way.
That's it, dude. That's what it's all
All
about.
it takes is a little bit.
That's it. You just gotta move towards the target a little bit, man, and people start catching you.
Some guts and hard work.
That's it.
You know, one thing that Lon always told me, son, be a student of the game.
Yeah.
Be a student of the game.
That's
You
right.
can do anything any advice I can give you, take that. Be a student of the game. Suck it all in. Try and master it. You'll never master this car business thing, but just be a student and learn and remember and lead. But
It's good advice.
He's still a huge. I talk to Lon twice a week.
Yeah.
Even though, right, we ended up buying one of his stores, which is a crazy full circle kind of deal, right?
Yeah.
I was raised in LaPlace, so that Rainbow Chevrolet was there.
Oh yeah.
That was the store in LaPlace, right? Everybody else kind of changed hands. So to come back and get to theirs,
It's amazing.
Is crazy.
Is Mike Beebe still working for the organization?
Mike Beebe runs the Macomb store.
Okay.
Then you still have Lee Eichel here in Dodge and
Yep.
Amite, and Craig Boudreaux, right?
I know all those guys, man.
Craig holds the gold at the end of the rainbow of 190 there at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Buick GMC store.
Oh man, they turned that into quite a used car spot, huh, man?
I'll tell you what, we would fulfill. This is public. I guess this is going to be a public statement.
Okay.
We would love to fulfill and keep alive Lloyd Sr.'s dream of completely the rainbow was supposed to be the rainbow around Lake Pontchartrain.
Oh.
So that's how the name came to be, or at least was told to me. We would love to have them.
Boy.
We don't want to just stop. So whenever they're ready, we're ready.
Nice. Well, you know, when I first started in the car business, I worked at Ray Brandt Nissan on the West Bank, and there was Ray Brandt Dodge, and in between was Rainbow Olds, right?
Yep.
And so I got to know those guys just because in '93 I got in the car business working for Eddie at Ray Brandt, and you know, we wound up taking Vincent Iacono, who's a friend of mine. You know Vincent?
Yep.
Vincent's a really good friend of mine. In fact, him and one of his buddies just you know, they work on the road now. They do shows, but they opened up their first weight loss clinic in Tupelo. So they came to us, and Vincent said, Sean, typically we would try to do the old car business thing and figure this out on our own. I don't know, Jeff roped me into this deal, and we don't really have any idea what we're doing. And so can you guys help us get set up? Well, helping him wound up being, they didn't have anything, dude. So we kind of took it on and built this out for them. And dude, they're my friends, you know. So I'm like, dude, you know what? I'm gonna help you out, get you pointed in the right direction. And they opened the store in Tupelo. In the first 30 days, we sell them out, dude. They're sold out every day. Vincent's sending me camera images from the showroom. There's 30 people in there waiting to go get their appointments. And so, you know, the second 30 days, these guys are making they've really turned the corner. So now they doubled down. I talked to them. I said, listen, there's going to be a run. It's all this new medicine you can give a shot to yourself and lose weight.
The
Wegovy or
the pre-diabetic deal.
Yeah, that's that thing. So they opened up. Well, it's all what Hollywood's doing.
Yeah.
It's the craze right now, dude. A friend of mine in Florida said, Sean, it's crazy. I give myself a shot. And he goes, I went out the other night and I ate too much. And dude, guess what? I was in the bathroom all night throwing up. So it's total appetite suppressant. So they open up that one. Then they're like, okay, in a college town. So they went and got another location in Tupelo. And then they have another location in Starksville they're opening up, dude. And so we've figured out this thing, and now it's like just spin them up as fast as you can because we know how much it costs to acquire a customer. We know how much they make. So all the metrics are laid out for those guys.
And how long do they have?
Probably 2 to 3 years.
Right, until the FDA or somebody like that.
Or it becomes another OxyContin thing where
Correct.
They didn't do what they were supposed to. I want to stay a arm's distance from it, dude, you know, just because. But I think it's, you know, Ryan in here takes it for diabetic, one of our guys.
Correct.
So it's a diabetic medicine. So I think it's pretty safe. I just don't know if it's safe the way that they're administering it, you know.
You know, I don't either. I've looked at it. I just recently, you know, I got to 210. I shouldn't be carrying 210 on my frame, right? I'm 5'9", 10 maybe with platform shoes on. Or, I looked at the scale. It was 210. I said, I gotta. This is enough. So I actually tried this Optavia thing, which is extreme. It's
extreme.
You don't eat a lot.
Yeah.
right? You eat.
And the food don't smell too good either.
It's not very good. I just end up bringing like my little cereal bars with me,
Yeah.
and some shakes, and then I get to eat one lean and green meal. But
How's it doing?
I mean, I'm 195, so it's I
It's
don't
working.
necessarily. They don't. It is working, right? It's been like 2 months.
Damn.
I'm sorry. That's my thing to eat.
Oh.
Every 2 hours, right? But I don't want to go too. At some point, I need to start exercising. They don't advocate exercising with such few calories. So
Oh, really?
I'm going to transition into something else and just I wanted to get healthy first and start the process to health. With this job, it's
Oh,
it's
man.
tough,
It's a pressure
right?
cooker, dude.
You know, the business, new business, a family of 4 and a wife.
Yeah.
That never stops. So, that's all my attention. You go from full work mode to full dad mode, right? With 4 children, one being special needs. And he's been, right, he wasn't the planned one, but he's the plan.
Yeah. So you have more than 2 kids?
I have 4.
4
A
kids.
16-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl, and then 11 and 5-year-old boys.
Wow. Damn, dude. So which one of them is special needs?
The 5-year-old.
Okay.
He was, so he's diagnosed autistic, very mild, right? So, but he was nonverbal until 3. It took my dad saying, in so many words, something's wrong with this boy. He should be talking by now. My dad is super raw, no filter.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the
Old
words.
school.
Yes. We kind of were making excuses for it at the time. Like, he's just his older siblings. He's not talking because he doesn't need to. They're finishing. They're just doing for him. It wasn't until he started trying to figure out how to sign language himself that we were like, man, something's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, right? But again, we got him some help early.
Yep.
ABA therapies, speech therapies, da-da-da. If he walked in a room right now, you would have no idea. So that all of the things that are available to us nowadays that weren't available to people like Chip Robinson and those
Right.
guys back 15 years ago is unbelievable.
Yeah.
From 3 to 5, the transition he's making. He just tested. So I have 2 at U-High, and 1 left U-High, went to St. Joseph's Academy.
Okay. That's the one right on campus? On
U-High's
LSU's?
right on LSU's campus.
campus.
So that's the tie-in to LSU, right? You were asking me early on, what's your tie? I thought you were a lifelong LSU guy. Both of my parents are from Wisconsin. They both went to University of Wisconsin.
Okay.
So I went to Southern Miss. I have 0 ties to LSU.
Okay.
Until I went to work for who's my partner now. Right, I went to work for Lee Carney in 16 at Toyota. It was his GSM. My wife mentions to Matt McKay, hey, we're not moving to Baton Rouge unless my daughter can go to lab school. We had some dealings with the Southeastern Lab School, and she's a kind of a brainiac kid.
Mm-hmm.
So needless to say, the day before school started, Mia was admitted to U-High.
Nice.
And that started the journey. We were commuting from Madisonville to U-High every morning. So we leave at 5 in the morning. I drop her off. The first day I'm walking through the hallways at U-High, drop her in her class, make sure she's okay. I'm walking back out to the car, bawling, crying. I'm bawling. I'm like, did I make the right decision? This is a parent moment, right?
Yeah.
I had to go into the bathroom for the adults, and I'm like sobbing in the mirror going, what is going on, right?
Just because you were leaving your baby.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Right? My friends, everybody I went to college with lives in Mandeville, Covington. My roommates in college live in Mandeville, Covington. Our kids were born within 3 or 4 months of each other. They're all tight. So there's 3 of us that live in the same neighborhood in Madisonville. I mean, we're like a large family of everybody's been knowing each other since they were pregnant and born. And I'm taking my kids out of this, right? Because I don't feel like driving. So that's like a dad, right? Am I being selfish? And so you start doubting yourself and all that. It was the best thing that happened to my wife and I from a relationship standpoint to get out of, because there's things here, right, that are too good.
Yep.
It was important for my kids, for my kids to see a lot of diversity, to be able to see the homeless underneath the interstate.
Yeah.
To interact with people from all aspects of race, colors, and religions.
Which you don't really have that here.
You don't.
No.
I call it the bubble, right?
Yeah, this is the bubble inside the bubble. And hey, my kids were at North Lake to begin with. It was a bubble inside of a bubble. You know, it was too much. That's why I took my son at 7th grade. I said, I got to get him out of this bubble, and I had to put him in public school because I said, this is not the real world, man, especially in sports and everything. This is, you know, and I was worried about his maturity.
Yep.
And I thought North Lake was kind of nursing him along a little bit, and that's what they were doing, you know. And so I said, I got to expose this before high school. And so, you know, junior high in the public school system here, it's kind of the weak link in the system here.
I would agree.
Elementary's great,
Yep.
middle school's great, high school's great. And listen, what they say is true. It's these teachers are totally detached from what I thought a teacher should be and what I experienced. You know, they just basically would come in and say, here's your lesson, and they'd sit there on their phone the whole time. And
yeah, and it's a tough age, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't necessarily want to put everything on.
Well, no, it's not.
Junior high's a little,
yeah.
They're knuckleheads, right?
And then you have teachers maybe that aren't as bought in. I think at junior high, you need the best of the best at junior high because, man, it is a tough age.
Where you have really strong elementary, right, here.
Oh,
and
big
even
time.
U-High is the same, right? Really strong elementary.
Yep.
Up into 6th grade, and then your whole world changes from in 6th grade at lab school. It like completely changes.
Yeah.
Lockers, changing classrooms, teachers who are, you know, not sending home to the parents the syllabus or the work, or you're required to write it down and do your own homework and things. But you know, it's getting you ready for what's going to be.
Yep. So what year was this? So 2008, the crash happens, Wells Fargo.
So it's 06 that we start seeing it, right?
Yep.
So we were making really good money with Wells up until 2006. We went, I couldn't pay my mortgage, right? So I got into retail in 2006. In 2000, so I worked for Rainbow Imports from 06 to 10, but in 08, right, something happened in our life, in our life that just changed the course of who we are as a couple, as a family, as a man, as right. I was spending every dollar I made up until that point. Members at Baton, running, you know, making $2, spending $2.50.
Been there, done that, brother.
You know,
Been there,
sometime
done
in
that.
2008, the hardest thing that ever happened to me, the sheriff knocks at your door and says, you got to go. Banks foreclosing, right? You told them you were going to do this. You didn't do that. So now you have no automobiles, no house. You're not getting a house, right? Because it's 2008. Tough time, right?
Yeah,
right after the mortgage bubble busts.
And that's wild, bro, because I told this story before, but 2008, we're making millions, dude, in the early 2000s. I'm thinking it never runs out. In fact, Wells Fargo, we had that event company, right? So our event company was so big that we had a special branch of Wells Fargo. No matter where we went to dealerships all over the country, we were doing 70, 80 events a month. We had our same buyers at Wells Fargo because we were their number one. It wasn't a dealership that was their number one. We gave them more business than anybody else. So basically, I went and met with the Wells Fargo people and put them together and said, hey, dude, this is the way that this works. You want more business? Then you give us our own buyers and you follow us along to whatever dealership we go to all over the country. So we had this special setup done with Wells Fargo, dude, that, man, I'm meeting with all the big wigs of those guys. Well, guess what? You fast forward to 2008, 2009, I'm sitting across the table from a bankruptcy attorney. about to have to pull the plug, and I couldn't do it. And it shows you the way God works. I'm sitting there. We had already paid the guy a couple of $1,000s. He was coming over to finalize everything, and I think I owed him $500. My wife at this time saying, hey, we're going to probably take our kids out of private school. Sean, we don't have money in the bank account, all these things. So we sit with this bankruptcy attorney, and I couldn't do it, man. I said, man, I hate that I wasted your time, but I can't do this, man. So here's the $500 check. And the next day, we had bought a piece of property in watercolor in Seaside, and 38 was going crazy. We had bought a lot right next to Jason Witten's house in watercolor. It was $1 million lot. Well, guess what, man? Things, they called the loan on that. Well, they sold it at a fire sale. Little did we know, we took like a huge loss on it. The next day after that bankruptcy attorney was there, in the mail, there's a $70,000 check that comes to us because that property had gotten sold. And I said, man, this is God. He continues to show up, man, every time. And there's been, I can go back at a dozen times where something like that has happened. And what it taught me is, hey, man, you just got to keep moving. If you keep moving, God is going to meet you wherever you are. It doesn't matter. And it gave me so much freedom because I was on the brink of, like, dude, my wife's crying every day. It's like, Sean, you're delirious. But this is what happened. April 26, 2004, my sister gets married. That's when I gave my life to Christ that night. I remember telling God, because I was making millions then, I said, nobody will ever know whether I'm making millions. I'm dead broke. Little did I know he would bring me to that point. And I remember my wife saying, Sean, I understand you have faith, but you're delirious now. Like, you are totally detached from reality. And I was just whistling Dixie, man, just through it all. And then it just keeps on, but I had this incredible amount of just understanding that, hey, this is just a time in my life. I don't know why I got here. I know why now, as looking back on it, I quit doing the things I was supposed to do. I quit moving in the direction I was supposed to move in, and I got paralyzed, dude. So I was right there. It's so, talking to you today, like our lives were intertwined, dude, like crazy, man.
Our past and our journey down the path has been very similar.
Damn, man.
It is tough, right? As a husband and a father at that time of two, to try and figure out what's next, right? So we rent a house in Betico in Tangipahoa Parish, which puts
Brant Quick lives out there,
which puts my children in public school in Tangipahoa Parish. I don't remember the name of the school, but my wife is like, I mean, we got to figure this out. They can't go to that school,
right?
Not happening. So we keep her. The oldest was at St. Peter. We figure out a way to keep that going, because all I know how to do now is just work.
Yeah.
So I merge myself into work. I work from 7 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. Student of the business, and just work.
And you were working at
Imports.
At Imports, okay.
Yep. So kind of work. I figured that money would help it all.
Yeah.
Got into the trucking business. I sold this guy some trucks. He was in the military. He's like, man, get into the car moving business with me. You buy a truck and a trailer and lease it to me on my DOT and MC numbers, and I'll take 40%. You can have 60. And I was like, man, it sounds too good to be true. I just lost everything I have. So I kind of try and figure out that. I watch him buy like 2 or 3 or 4 trucks to sell him, and he's moving stuff all over the country and da-da-da. All right, I'm in. I buy a truck, First Castle Federal Credit Union, one of their repos. They give me favorable rates on it, even though I don't deserve it. Find a little trailer, buy that, go to lease it to him. He goes bankrupt.
Oh, Jesus, dude.
So now I have a $800 truck note, insurance on a dually, of course, that I'm not driving. What do? Well, I go get my own MC and DOT number. Terrible idea. Let me just tell everybody that is not a trucker, you don't want to be in the truck business, because there is a ton of federal and state regulation that they don't tell you that goes into that you don't want to be a part of. Louisiana Department of Revenue, wants their piece. The fuel people want their. It's
a bad business.
It is not a good. It is not
Unless
unless you're owner operating.
Right.
You don't want any part of it.
Yeah.
So that's all on that deal, right? So
Yeah.
just so you know, I finally got the title to that truck, which no longer exists and who knows where it is, 3 years ago. I also did not go bankrupt.
You didn't?
Nope. Paid everybody that I owed money.
Yep.
Paid them back. Just keep your head down and work.
That's it,
Work
dude.
hard and do what you know how to do. And at some point, you got to look up and look your wife in the face and say, do you believe in me or not?
Yeah.
And, right, I'm sure those conversations went on with you as well. And as the head of the household, you got to say you have to believe that we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
We're gonna that he's gonna show us the light at some point.
Yep.
Through all of this darkness, because it was the darkest days
man.
of my life.
Yep.
Right. I mean, you want to be in every other room except for where you should be.
That's right. Hiding from everybody that you can hide from. Laying low. Yeah.
Embarrassed, right? Embarrassed to go out in public and here in Mandeville, you know, you lose your house, you just feel like this certain way about yourself, and then that brings you into a darker place.
But
so
man, the people that, you know, going through that kind of stuff, I look back, man, I've lived a rough. I'm a little bit out there, man. So I'm a risk taker, dude, and I'm like a thrill seeker, dude. Like I wake up every day, and number one, I tell them every day is my first priority is to have fun. Just because, man, I know that we have such a limited amount of these days, but then how to meld that fun into making money in a high pressure, you know, how do you do all those things, dude, you know? And I think those hard times really prepared me what was to come, you know? And that's as I look back on them now, all of those things that I went through were for a reason, because I'm getting a second chance at it now. And so now it's like, you remember what happened last time at 40 million. We grew the company to 40 million, 40 something million. And I just ran out of steam, man. I didn't have the capabilities to get us to the next step. And we were on the verge of I just wasn't ready.
Yeah.
But this time
You're right.
I'm ready, dude. Yeah. So
well,
man,
it takes a failure, right? So
yeah.
Because if not, somebody gives you, I know I couldn't handle it. I could barely handle making $200,000.
Yep.
Right, spending every dollar I had, man. Woohoo! This is great. This is fun. Let's go join the next thing. But little do they know, like kind of something we're facing now, right? Interest rates are going up.
Yep.
I've been saying it. So I promised my wife. There's one thing I promised my wife. The sheriff would never ever knock at my door again and tell me we needed to leave.
Yeah.
I would never do that to you ever again. So I've made sure that even through this growth period with Go in our company, which is, amazing. I am not a risk taker.
You're not?
By nature, no, because of what happened in 2008, right?
Yep.
And I still hold on to that. Now, I have a friend that told me, Nick, if you know how to make money once, you know how to make it again and again and again and again.
It's true.
And it's just work.
It's just it. That's it.
Tell your wife that.
Yeah.
That's tough, right?
It is.
So there's a happy median there.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes because you know the race that you're running and you're inside of your own head. They can only imagine what's in there, but the picture to them just doesn't look. It just doesn't look like that, man. And
well, if you're anything like me, right, we don't bring it all home.
I don't say a word.
Right? You don't.
Nope.
You don't bring your challenges home. You don't bring your employee issues home. You don't bring your financial issues at your businesses or even right in your own house maybe home, because it's not fun to talk about.
No, especially when the one you sleep with is the CFO.
Well, yeah, right.
So she knows. She knows, man. Yeah, but yeah, dude, that's you start to learn how to maneuver the situation at home to keep things. Yeah. We don't talk business at home at all. And sometimes we'll be here all day and not say two words to each other. But what I've learned to do is women have a special gift and intuition. My wife is tuned into God, and I look back on every one of my mistakes. I made some big mistakes. Every one of them, her advice was, this is not a good idea. So what I learned after this last one was I don't make any big decisions anymore unless she's 100% bought in, not because I have to ask her. It's because I want to ask her, because if I would have listened to her, she would have saved me from a lot of grief, dude. Yeah.
What is it about us men that just our desire to be in grief seems to overwhelm the desire for happiness sometimes?
Yeah, it's like we're running for the puddle.
It's just, I don't know what it is. It's testosterone.
Yeah.
I think.
So you have brothers?
I have one sister.
Okay.
An older sister. My parents now live in Michigan. My sister lives in Michigan, so I'm it.
Wow, dude.
I'm the only one here.
You're the only Cajun boy.
That's it. I never left. I can't leave. I tell my parents they have between May and September for me to come unless something really, really, really bad happened, because I don't like cold weather. I hate it. Like, we just had the weather here, and I was like, I didn't sign up for this.
No.
My dad's like, it's, -10 here. I said, yeah, but you live in Michigan. I live in Louisiana. You signed up for this. I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not. I live in tempered climate.
Yeah.
No cold.
We get a little harshness in the winter, in the summer, and the heat.
But I'd rather turn on the air conditioner. I think. I don't know.
Yeah. I've kind of learned, and part of it is through you said you're a learner, you're always looking to learn. Same thing with me, and Shannon and I, we talk about this on some of the podcasts. They say the number one best attribute of an entrepreneur is, like, they listed these 10 things. Number one is an insatiable appetite to continue to learn. And listen, I've learned, man, if you keep that attitude towards things, then there's nothing really, you start to figure it out, dude. Once you start learning, you become good at learning. So you start becoming good at seeing where all the pieces are, and so it almost gives you, when you learn, are constantly learning and constantly advancing and understanding, it almost seems like it gives you a little bit of an advantage just in the game of life, dude, just because, you just see more of the pieces coming together at sooner maybe than you would have if you weren't learning.
I would, absolutely. Absolutely, right? Because you can go from, so where we started, right, in 2020 with our current company.
So that's when you bought the first store.
So, yeah, so I go to Baton Rouge in 16.
Yep.
The flood happens, so March 1st of 2016, I leave Honda Slidell, which is where I kind of learned a lot of the car business. From 2010 to 16, I was at Honda Slidell working for a guy, Ken Lobert, Mike Shaw Automotive.
That's right, because that was a group that came in and put that store there. That was not one of the normal Louisiana
minority
groups.
deal. He's Hispanic, out of San Antonio. He had some stores in Colorado, Texas, and then the outlier here.
Okay.
Which is, I understand the outlier situation now, right? So I stayed there, learned the business, new car business side, really there. Mm-hmm. Started in working for my partner, who my partner is now. He ran Toyota, Chevrolet, and Hyundai Volvo in Baton Rouge for Matt McKay.
And you had moved to Baton Rouge at this time, Nick?
We were commuting when I first started.
Yep. Child's in the lab.
Child's in lab.
Yep.
Going to work at 5. She's coming back to Toyota on Airline in Goodwood.
Yep.
I'd go get her at 3:30. We'd leave at 7 because we close at 8. I get, work a little deal where I can leave a bit early, get home at 9, shower, sleep, eat, try and get in there, get up at 5. And I'm like, so then the summer hits, right? So we're not there long. Summer comes. We start school, and I'm going, during the summer, I'm like, I can't do this. 12's under construction every night. They're putting up those cable things, the road, this. Every night it's something.
Because Baton Rouge was exploding.
Still crazy after Katrina. Still like tons of people moving around. Prairieville's growing. Livingston is booming.
Yep.
So getting through Livingston right there at the Jubin, Denham exit's terrible. It's terrible, right?
So 30 minutes outside of 30 or so minutes outside of Baton Rouge, 20 minutes, it gets
deadlock.
crazy. Yeah.
Deadlock, right? And then we start school, and then the flood.
Yep.
You remember the August flood, right?
My dad was working at Team Toyota.
So
Happened.
completely devastated, right? Preston and those guys just
That's who my dad worked for.
devastated.
It was bad.
Unbelievable people, Preston and his father, John.
It was one of these 100-year floods, right? Or
Yeah, it was
1,000-year floods.
supposedly, right? Just sat and rained and rained and rained and
And
rained
what,
and
the
rained.
rivers overflowed, I
Yeah,
think?
the A-Meet, Co-Meet, all of those rivers. I'm driving to work. It's a Saturday morning. I'm driving from here. That Friday, I'm driving my daughter to school. Of course, when I hit airline, they say school's going to be closed. It's been raining now for 4 or 5 days. We stop at the Cracker Barrel on airline and eat breakfast and figure out what are we doing, right? Are you going to come to work with me all day? Am I going to have your grandmother come pick you up? What's going to happen? She comes to work. Thank God grandmother comes, picks her up, brings her home. The next day is Saturday. I'm driving from Madisonville again. Now, this time I had a team of guys that left Honda, Slidell, and are working for me at Toyota. That salespeople, managers, they're coming from Tangipahoa, Slidell, so they're right behind me. We get to, like, the Natalbany Creek, which the RV dealer is right there, and I'm in a lifted Toyota Tundra, and I'm driving through a foot of water on I-12.
On I-12.
On I-12, on the north side of I-12, and I pull over. I tell the guys that work for me, stop. I said, y'all turn around. Y'all don't need to come. One of them drove a Corolla. The other one was in a demo. I'm like, y'all just need to turn around and go back home. By this time, I'm getting text messages, hey, if anybody's coming or is around, Denham Springs has water coming on the lot. We need to move some cars, blah, blah, blah. The RV parking lot's already underwater. Interstate is flooded on the north side of I-12. The I-12 is flooded. I keep going. I said, I'm in a big truck. I'm not worried about it. I drive. I get to Denham Springs, which is the exit, right, which is right after O'Neill.
Yeah, that's O'Neill was the dealership that.
Yep.
Actually, I was 16 in 2016, and me and my
Lord.
sister and my dad called us all.
Does that make you feel old, Sean?
We
Jesus,
had to go drive the cars like up, but
Yeah.
they all went under anyway.
Yeah.
They lost 200 something. It was so bad, and I just remember the look on my dad's
Oh, the
face.
dealers lost all their inventory
We
during that
lost-
flood?
My
Team-
dad's dealership lost everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Team Toyota lost. There was no way to account for anything that happened. So I pull off the Denham exit on Range.
Yep.
I go to the dealership. I'm walking I'm in dress clothes like I am today. I'm walking in barely water, running on the concrete. 1 hour later, we're in knee-deep water, and state police is telling us, you either leave now or you're not leaving. So get out. Go to get on the exit, and I come back east, and I get stuck at the Albany-Springfield exit. Now the water, they closed the interstate. So the water's coming over the road at the RV dealership in the Albany Creek, both north and southbound, is closed because of water, and the bridge may go out. So I was smart enough to at least pull off on the exit, and we go to a little gas station right there there's people from Texas. Texas schools are still not in, so they were like taking their last trip to Florida. People from Texas everywhere. So we make like this little huddle at the gas station. I call my wife and tell her, hey, I'm not gonna make it home. I'm stuck in Albany, Springfield. She doesn't even know where that is, right?
Right.
So she watches me through the night, right? We're sitting at the gas station. I go get 2 cases of beer, a bunch of Funyuns and Cheetos and things. Because the gas station we were at is closed. We go across the street, pick all this up. I come back. I call her up, like, hey, boo, I got beer. We got snacks. We're going to be good. She goes, did you think about getting some water? I'll call you back. No. We go across the street, get water. Right, come back. I got water. Sometime during the night, I mean, there was all kind of craziness there, right? So just people, like, it would be like her traveling by herself, right? There was a girl traveling by herself, completely freaked out, right? I'm going to die and all that. So we kind of get her in the middle of all of us. Thankfully, there's some people with a female. There's predominantly male people on the road. Mm-hmm. This newlywed couple, this lady takes her in, calms her down. We put her in the middle of us where nothing's going to happen to you. I sleep with a 9mm on my chest with my truck window open that night.
Jesus,
Just don't know, right? Because you know what I have pictures of?
Katrina.
Yeah. My wife. So we lose cell service at some time during the night. Mm. So she's freaking out. I go, the Life 360 thing. She's checking on me. Boom, and it goes dead because there's no more cell service. She's thinking Carrollton Overpass, Convention Center, Katrina, right? The next morning, helicopters are landing on I-12, giving out MREs. I mean, just goes crazy, right? You want to know a oh shit moment? When a Huey lands on I-12 and starts handing out Gatorade and MREs to eat.
God,
you may be there for a minute.
Dude, I remember this, but I guess because we were detached from it a little bit.
So Covington had no coverage of it. No. My wife's like scouring the TV because we have New Orleans news.
Right.
There's no coverage on here in Madisonville or Hammond or anywheres, right? It's all Baton Rouge coverage.
Yeah.
And we don't get that news here.
So when the flood hit, right where Denham Springs area, that's where a lot of my best friends that I cheer with at LSU, they lost their entire high school and all their houses. And I went to Dutchtown, which is in Prairieville. So Sandomal is a town right outside of Geismar, Prairieville, where my high school was, and their entire school, completely underwater, all their houses. So we had a whole platooning, which is why that whole year was just like a blur. I was a junior in high school. My high school had to share. We were on a platooning schedule with another high school. So I missed so much school. I only went to school from 6:30 to 12:30 every day my entire junior year because after 12:30, a different high school had school. And so they didn't have, they lost everything. And it was like that entire year was, it was horrible. Everything was underwater. They still didn't have, a football field, so all of our sports were really weird. We had, our campus was, 2 schools combined. But, yeah, I mean, at first we were all cheering because that was, right at the beginning of the school year.
Yeah.
So as a kid, we were like, oh, my gosh, no school for a week. But then once we saw how bad, we got lucky. Where we lived in Prairieville, it was higher up, nothing flooded. But, my dad's whole work underwater. And I have videos, actually, of the dealership. It was completely wiped out.
Sean, when I'm telling you, Preston and them, 250 self-insured vehicles floating inside of a fence.
There was no way to save them, too. Yeah, we tried.
So what happens in that case?
So they sold them, right? They salvage whatever the salvage is, and you write a check.
So the dealer's responsible for that?
It depending on insurance. Matt was in the same boat, right? You hit maxes. So Matt lost Ford and Dodge in Denham. He lost Nissan and Kia on Florida Boulevard. So what happened, right, is that the rain just kept raining.
Yep.
Up through north of Central, so north Baton Rouge, going towards Jackson, Louisiana, Clinton, all of that area. Well, it just can't hold the water, the rivers, right? So then because all the development.
This is the first time that's ever happened, though, huh?
As far as I know, right?
They call it the Great Flood. I think they gave it a name. Yeah. We just call it the flood of 2016.
Because it wasn't a tropical event.
Right.
It was just rain.
Just rain.
That sat and rained and rained and rained. And then so they flooded based on the river, the gravity.
Yep.
Drainage that drains from north to the lake, but goes through Ascension Parish. So the aftermath of it was, so the interstate was closed, I-12 was closed from Millerville all the way through Hammond. Then the back started happening where I-10 was now closed from Highland Road to Sandomal area because it was now flooding Highland Road. I mean, I-10 on that side, because it's coming down Bayou Manchac.
Yep.
And then it gets stuck somewheres where they have to blow the road up in Geismar or somewheres like that allows it to drain more, which is still a problem.
And didn't it come all the way down to Hammond? Didn't Hammond get some of this, or did it not come that far? You know, it's weird, dude.
Well, just before that, long before that, you had the flood, like Tallow Creek.
Yeah, in Tangipahoa.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the back roads, this is where it got really bad. Like where Prairieville, Sandoval, and Hammond all meet, like there are all these back roads. Now the ditches are like really high ditches, so like if it floods, it's not as bad. But like it all connects back there, and that's where we have the rivers too. So like remember I was telling you that the Amy, that's like in between Sandoval and Hammond. Like you would just keep going down those roads to get to Hammond area.
Yep.
So that's where like it was really bad. Like all that's underwater.
You wonder, man, like all of this stuff is so complex. Did they uncover where the problem was and how to fix it, or it just wasn't a problem? It was just so much rain that there's no way to prepare for it.
So working with, when I was in Livingston, this was a big topic, right? Obviously, there's still ongoing Amy Comey diversion project. That's so it's a federal government grant or funding issue that they have some funding and they're, I don't know what the status of that Amy Comey diversion is. I know everybody's doing their soil testing and you know, all of that
BS.
Yeah. Our waste.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's getting their piece, their taste of the money.
It might just be one of those things, dude, that sometimes you can't stop nature, man, and so you know, it doesn't happen that often. So this is right when you're making this transition to Baton Rouge, man. This happens.
Yep. And I'm saying, hey, we need to move to Baton Rouge. We need to move. I can't do this anymore. It's not fair to the kids.
Yep.
Right. We all need to be together. We know we're better together than apart. Right. Yep. I can't live two separate places. School starts back a couple weeks later. My daughter and I move into an apartment. Hey, and brother, let me tell you, I don't know when the last time you lived in an apartment was, but it's no fun.
No.
I don't want to go back to living in an apartment.
It's been a long time.
It's not. Don't do it.
No.
Okay? Figure out how to have something paid for if anything ever hits the fan. Kick your renters out and live there.
Yeah.
Because the apartment's awful. It's
apartment complex.
Yes, and it's at the time she would have been, I don't know, 8, 10, a 10-year-old girl, and her father that works in the car business. So the extent of dinner is, hey, what do you want tonight?
Right.
We have a bed, a TV, and a sofa, and frozen pizzas and stuff, and we pick up Izzo's or Czech or whatever we do every night. Mom, we go home on the weekends to Covington and then go back.
How long did you do this for, brother?
From August, it only took from August to September. We finally found a house.
Gotcha.
My wife says, if I'm moving to Baton Rouge, you're going to live where I want to live.
And that's where you live, across the street from Stu now?
Same
house?
That's where we found. So her region was Highland Road.
Yep.
South of Airline Highway, obviously, and maybe some couple of neighborhoods. We really wanted to be closer to school, like Woodgate, Woodstone, that area. We looked at a couple houses there. We just couldn't make it happen. My Baton Rouge real estate is extreme.
Extreme.
Yeah. Like we thought Mandeville, Covington, Madisonville was extreme. It has nothing on that.
Yeah, because I think there's more money in Baton Rouge than there is even in New Orleans now, huh?
I would think so.
Yeah, that's
and the
from
people,
what I understand.
the people we found, and you know what I get all the time? You moved from where to come here? Yeah, I moved from Madisonville to come here. Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Well, have you ever lived there? No. There's some reasons, and you're probably not going to understand them or like them, but here they are.
Yep.
The community really took us in. They were good to us. I don't know if it was just the guy I worked for, in helping me into the community, our personality, where we work. We get to meet so many people, right? Which my son has been the beneficiary of most of that.
He's probably like the mayor, dude, huh?
He is close at U High, right? He's been there since kindergarten, but when Wayne Sims passed away, right? That morning I got news and saw what happened, and like a week before he was at U High. He went to U High, so he had Dominic on his shoulders running through the halls at U High with some of the other basketball players like Nas Reed and some other guys that were there, running through the halls of U High, playing around with the kids, and then I had to tell him that he passed away and shot and murdered. But that was a crazy. How do you tell a 4 or 5-year-old
that somebody just got killed?
Kindergartner at the time, right?
Yeah.
But I felt like I needed to be the one that told him that, because he really looked up to these guys. He's met Shaquille O'Neal, which he has in common
with Shannon.
With Shannon, got to train with Shaq for a couple of hours, and let me tell you something about that man. Mm-hmm. 2 things. One, he prefers children over adults. He has no use for adults, really.
Well, I saw the other day he said something he was on one of these shows, and he said, "I'm not a celebrity. I don't want to be a celebrity. I'm not a celebrity. I wish y'all would quit referring to me as a celebrity," And I always wondered, he seems like a man of the people, and in hearing it firsthand from you like this, man, I always wonder, is it just a show, or is he really like this?
He is. I got everything that I did not expect from the man. A friend of mine who runs CSC Customs, which is like a custom shop in Baton Rouge, 4-wheel drive stuff. He calls me and says, "Hey, Shaquille O'Neal wants to buy a car, but he doesn't want to deal. He doesn't want to, go through that stuff." I said, "Well, just tell him to call me." I'm like, "Okay, whatever, right, whatever." Never happened.
Right.
I'm on my way to work. I see a phone number I didn't recognize from an out-of-state area code. To pick up the phone. "Hello, Nick, this is Shaq." I'm like, "Okay, all right. What can I help you with?" "I'm looking for a Maxima." Blah 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 blah. Goes through that whole thing. "All right, well, I got this. What I have." And he comes in the next day, and he was helping somebody who is a business partner or something buy a car.
Okay.
Yeah. Everybody in the store, right, is flocking around him. And he's like, "Where's the kids? I'll handle the kids. I'm make sure this person is taken care of first." And when he figured out that was done, then it was playtime.
Where's the kids?
2 or 3 kids at the store at the time, just whoever. He's playing basketball with them. I called my wife and I'm saying, "Hey, you need to get Dominic here, because
right.
Shaq's coming to the dealership today." So he gets to the store, and they go through their thing, and with the basketball stuff. But the thing that really, really, really struck me and kind of altered the course of the way I'm going to talk to and handle the youth going forward is he sat down with them and told them some things, self-esteem wise, and just morality stuff. He would just be doing his thing, and he would ask Dominic, "Who's the best basketball player in Baton Rouge?" And Dominic's 5, and he could literally walk underneath Shaq's legs with not touching his crotch, right?
Golly, dude.
And he's like, "You?" And he's like, "Nope." And then he would go on to something else. They'd start doing whatever again. He'd come back to the question, "Who's the best basketball player in Baton Rouge?" He'd do this until finally he told him the answer on the 3rd try. He goes, "You're the best basketball player in Baton Rouge. Dominic, you are." The answer is, "I am." So he'd go on about something else. He'd come back to it. Now, this is 6 hours, right? So it wasn't minutes. So these kids have attention spans of gnats.
Right.
Until he would say it religiously, "I am, I am, I am, I am." Then he'd go on to the next thing. "If you're really going to do this thing and you're going to play ball, somebody's going to give you money. Somebody wants to come buy you some shoes or give you some money. What do you tell them?" He said, I'll take the money." He's 5, right?
Right.
I want the new
Dominic's
Jordans. I want the money.
Yeah, shit, yeah, right? Dude.
He goes, "You tell him, go talk to your mother or your father. Every single time. The answer is always whatever your parents say, whatever your mother and father says. And he beat that into his head the same way he beat the 1-2 into his head.
Yep.
He was talking about self-esteem things and morality things.
Wow.
For 6 hours with these kids. He spent 6 hours with children and 30 minutes taking pictures with the adults.
That's amazing, dude.
He said adults always have an ulterior motive. The kids are innocent. They don't. Most of them don't. That age don't even know who I am barely, because, I mean, they see me on Papa John's and every other commercial in the world, but
right.
It's not.
They don't understand the gravity of really
Correct.
who you're standing with. Like, this is one of the most famous people in the world. Yeah.
Correct.
Man, that's really amazing, dude.
So that kind of started off his Shaq kind of started off his celebrity kick, and then he's been able to interact with Devin White and some of the other guys from 19, Joe Burrow. And let me tell you something about, I know everybody loves Joe Burrow, but a guy who we worked on his Grand Cherokee a number of times at Dodge, he had rust. His floorboards were rusted out. There was no, I bought him a car, or any boosters bought cars. There was none of that. He drove a turd Grand Cherokee with rusted floorboards. His mom and dad are two of the best people you will ever meet.
Yeah.
And Joe Burrow's parents, unbelievable people.
It looks like that.
I mean,
from afar, you know, it looks like he's the same no matter what, man. It looks like he's
Jimmy,
enjoying all of it.
I can't remember his mama's name, but
okay. His dad's named Jimmy, right?
Jimmy, yeah. On just the salt of the earth, you know, Midwestern people, hardworking.
He's a coach, right?
He was, He was
Yeah.
a coach. John Emery's dad, same way. Unbelievable man. Just beats the morals in the junior.
Yeah.
I mean, just beats it.
Well, look at the way Burrow has kind of handled that, dude. It's unusual to watch a young man get, he came out of nowhere, right, in that season. In that one play, I say was the difference.
UCF.
The decleated
Yes.
where I thought he might have got killed. I
Yes.
said, oh, my God, dude, this guy might not get up. Something switched after that, dude, and man, he has just been,
Yep.
But it shines through all of this. Dude, you said something earlier that I want to just go back to. You made a decision at some point living in Madisonville that this was a bubble. What made you do that? Like, where did that come from, man? Because it's really unusual for me to hear that from someone, because, that's not the way that most people look at this thing. They look at it as, hey, I have my family here because this is the best and safest place for them. But it really is detached from the real world. Like, it's just really interesting that you
would say that.
Yeah,
and
that
kind of
you observe this, dude. That
So it is comfortable, and I think I did say that at the time when I was with Rainbow Imports. I was watching parents of kids that are going to start at some of our private schools in the area. I don't want to call those people
Sure.
out, but because it's not the school's problem, that are pulling up to the dealership in 10 and 12-year-old cars and barely keeping them together because the daughter or the son wants to drive a new Mercedes or that newer model Mercedes BMW, and they're buying it for them. I think that's a issue.
Yeah.
I think although I try and provide everything that I can for my children as well,
Yep.
they will never drive a nicer automobile or have a nicer home unless they earn it and work for it than I have.
Yeah.
I think so that was the first kind of thought of it.
Okay.
Then I worked with Robert Meacham's foundation for hungry children when I was at Honda Slidell, and I did a lot of work in the city of New Orleans. It's kind of like my first calling to do more for people and to give back. And at the time I didn't have money, but I had work. do things.
Yeah.
So we started going to under the overpasses in New Orleans and doing Thanksgiving dinners and things of that nature, and that kind of started it. And then your eyes just kind of open. And when I moved to Baton Rouge, you see some of the same similarities. And you say to yourself, I know where I came from, which was LaPlace. And I say LaPlace is segregated by Airline Highway. It's not separated. It was segregated by Airline Highway. My life was changed when I went to Southern Miss and I had to live in a dorm. It was the first time I really had to interact with people of different races and religions. And it was a aha moment in my life, right? And they told me I would never understand. They were from Greenville, Mississippi. So they're telling me about Greenville, Mississippi, and I'm telling there's no way that people still live like this. So I said, I want to go home with you. I want to go home. I want to see where you grew up. And they're not lying. There's places in Mississippi that we can touch, that are within an hour of our driving from here or Baton Rouge, that have no running water, that have no power. In 2023 now, there's people who live with no running water and no power from the power company, right? They happier than anybody you know.
Wow, dude.
But Greenville, Mississippi's like going back to the 60s. It's the Delta. I mean, it's just raw.
Yeah.
And I came home from that thinking to myself, I can't believe people live like this, right? We're upset because we can't go to the movies or buy another case of beer or whatever it was. So that whenever I got to Baton Rouge, I said, we need to move as a family. And my children, it's just too much. It's too much of one thing. Too much of anything's not good for you, for your heart, your soul, or your body.
That's right.
So you need diversity in your life. They will have diversity. So that's the catch-22. You want to keep your family safe and your kids safe, and you want to keep them in a bubble.
Yep.
But when they need that experience the most, after they're out of your home and after they're out of your security, that's when they need to understand how to work with diversity. We were just at the Roosevelt Hotel.
Yep.
My kids have never been to the Roosevelt. They never did all of that. We're walking back from the Roosevelt to the parking place, and there's two guys on the corner talking to themselves and screaming out and just whatever, right? I truly believe if my children would have stayed where they stayed and have never witnessed anything like that, because they witnessed it downtown Baton Rouge and they witnessed it at football games and everything else, the response to that would have been different than what it was, right? Just acknowledge, tell them hello, and keep moving, right? You don't need to dwell on it, but don't act like they're a leper. They're a human being that needs help too, and it's just all about later in life. Yeah. I felt, and this is just my opinion, I felt my children needed to be in school with Muslims, with Hindus, with Buddhists, with Christians, with African Americans, with Oriental people, with all race and religions, and the lab school does a phenomenal job with all of that.
Wow, dude.
Now I had one just go to St. Joseph's Academy, so she left in high school, and that's their campus is unbelievable. It's like a larger Brother Martin Jesuit kind of deal. You think Catholic High's campus is nice. St. Joseph's is a lot nicer. She probably, have you been on the campus before?
I haven't been to SJA. I've been to U High because I would help coach stuff. Like sometimes LSU cheer would have our clinics there. But that was really it. I didn't really go to many of the private schools just because I went to Touchdown,
Yeah.
a big 5A public school. So we never really played any of those schools except for maybe in baseball. So
it's right in the heart of Baton Rouge, and like in the middle of neighborhoods. It's crazy. It's
crazy.
like a New Orleans school. It's like a Jesuit Brother Martin, old school Holy Cross kind of school. It's not on the outlier. It's like right in the middle of a Acadian Thruway, and
Have you seen St. Michael's? Just curious. St. Michael's is a lot farther out.
St. Michael's is over like on the north side of Airline, right?
I think so. Yeah. My little sister, she's 16. My parents just switched her from Dutchtown to St. Michael's, so she's the first one to go to Baton Rouge private school. So, but yeah.
It is a good school, though.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, there's a lot of interesting, neat things happening in Baton Rouge as well as, all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
The growth is unbelievable.
Well, man, you're mentioning this about Greenville and getting plugged in. And just recently, I don't know why, man, I got, there's some trouble starting to brew up here a little bit, like here where there's a little bit more, supposedly gang, like this gang.
Oh, wow.
Like I don't think it's like it is in the cities, but, I live in Mandeville, so I'd never been in the hood in Covington or Abita. So I got
exists.
And I got a friend of mine to take me through there, and it's really sad because it's kind of placed between the courthouse and the jailhouse, dude.
It's
which is
weird.
It's like, dude, this is the way that they kind of write this stuff up, man. And it's such a small area that I've started to, working with some people here locally, trying to get, I went and saw the hood in Covington and then Abita. Dude, I can't believe there's people living like that 10 miles away from where I live right now. It broke my heart, dude. Like, the fact that I went and they have no sidewalks, they have no green space to play, they don't have, parks and things to go do. They got to walk across busy streets to go get to do anything. They're living in these trailers and stuff that are just, I'm sitting here saying, dude, how could I not know that this is here, and what can we do about it? And maybe this can be an example. It's small enough that you can get your arms around, right? It's Covington and it's Abita. It's, and trying to figure out how can we go get in there and try to change some of this stuff, dude, just because, I just could not believe 10 minutes or 10 miles from me, there are people that are actually living like this, dude. And we're in such a, a resourceful parish. Western St. Tammany, I think, is the wealthiest parish in the state. Why is this happening, dude? And then why is no one doing anything about it? And what about our elected leaders? And if they're not doing it, maybe it's time. Maybe I need to jump in and at least start it and do my part to try to go fix some of these things.
Because it's uncomfortable, right? It is
dude,
uncomfortable to talk about. It's not popular to talk about, right? You drive around it, you drive through it like this, or you look straight. You're looking over your glasses, or you avoid it, right? But it's still, no matter how many times you avoid it, it's still there.
And once you see it, dude, it's sitting in the back of your head, man, when you're saying, what the hell is going on? How can this be happening right here? These same kids, and these kids, I know some of these kids, some of them are playing football at colleges right now, man, and they came out of that, and I'm thinking to myself, dude, this is nowhere. I mean, how did these kids make it out of this, dude? And because they really didn't have a chance, dude, from get-go.
So think about, reverse what you're saying, right? So you've been here, I was here for 16 years.
I came here in 2000 and after Katrina, 2006. So I've been here for 17 years. Right.
So think about the flip side of it. How you feel now that you saw it.
Yeah.
Think about them not being seen
for
generations.
Yep.
So, and that's why I get to sit here and say it from my seat, but I don't know what it's like either, because and we'll never know what it's like.
Mm-mm.
But somebody's got to be able to talk across that line and listen, because it's going to be it's probably going to be angry at first,
Mm-hmm.
right? You've all of these people have driven past us, through us, and around us for generations.
Yep.
And there's, I'm sure, been people before us and after us that'll say something needs to change, but nothing ever does.
That's right.
So how can you instill that change and keep it systemically? Because systemically it's been going on for generations.
That's right.
Because you'll get some people with some passion, but guess what? They're met with opposition and bureaucracy.
Yep.
And lack of a better word, some other people maybe in the community that say, why are you doing this or whatever. So then people back out of it.
That's right.
And then it just goes back to the way they know how to be.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to it. That's a huge
huge
question.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know it either, but something inside of me says I gotta start doing something. Whatever it is, something is better than nothing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
You know, I thought about in LaPlace. So LaPlace is very blue collar. It's very, you know, after the 80s oil boom, a bust, it's always been, you know, plant workers. After Ida, I thought to myself, you know, we have 2 buildings that we don't use, really. I thought to myself, how can I help? Mm-hmm. How can I help the young people that come into our store that have a good job, but have never been taught how to manage credit? Because managing money and managing credit are 2 different things.
That's right.
So and I haven't acted on it yet, so I'm still trying to come through with a plan, but how can I utilize the space that we have and speak to these, and whoever wants to come, young, old, and whoever, people who have I was never taught credit. Mm-hmm. My parents never taught me any fiscal responsibility. I had to learn from going really bad to really good to really bad again.
Yep.
How can I teach them the game, the credit game? Because it's a game.
Yep.
Because if you pay everything off, you have no credit.
That's right.
If you have too much debt, right, you're somewhere where the bank wants you to be in that 600, right?
Exactly.
In that near prime market where you have to settle for a rate.
Yep.
What can get me? And you can make $1,800, $2,000 a month and be an 800 credit score, right?
That's right.
We see it all the time. You just need to know how to manage that credit.
Manage the credit.
And your life will change exponentially for the better for the rest of it.
Yeah.
If you can maintain what the system has put in place. So I'm trying to come through with what can we do as a class? Who can I get to come talk?
Listen, I got some people because one of the guys that I work with.
And I want it to be free.
Yeah.
There's no charge to do this.
So a good friend of mine named Sean Duke, he trains. Iverson Celestin, who backup running back for Tulane. Him, who was the kid that played at Covington that now starts for Texas A&M? He's a linebacker. I just can't think of his name. He's a 2 or 3 year guy at Texas A&M. He's got a variety of different kids, and teaches financial literacy to these kids, right? So he gets them young out of Covington High and out of some of these places. He not only trains them, but he also is pouring into their lives, dude. And like these scholarship kids, he's teaching them how to take that NIL money, buy a place, your friends live in it. So, man, he was telling me about all these success stories he has. You know, he's a great friend of mine. He trains me when I'm going to do something competitive. He's the one that trains me. And, man, he was telling me about this. And I said, dude, I never knew you were doing this. He goes, man, this is what I've always been doing. He goes, I'm trying to teach these kids how, you know, he's really focused on the scholarship athletes, dude. Kids that are coming from the inner city, don't have a lot of, you know, of guidance or anything, how to teach them how to get ahead in life, man. And he was sharing me, he's got probably 10 success stories. These kids are buying properties, they're renting them out, they're getting, by the time, his goal is when they leave after 5 years, if they do it right, they have a piece of real estate that's paid off, that's generating income, passive income from them. And they're not beholden to the man, they're not beholden to anyone. So maybe the 3 of us can get together, man, because I have a real desire. I've got resources, you've got a desire, he's got a desire, and he's already touching these kids right now and making a big impact on
There's
them.
So many, you know, I was telling you before that the 2019 LSU season was special for everybody in the area, but also it was close to me. I got really close with some players through the car business, right? They wanted to buy some cars and just happened to take to me, and I took to them and poured into them a little bit, and they, right, in turn poured back into my life as well. And they need it. Their desire is, if you can play athletics on that level, the drive is not the problem. They have drive.
It's the knowledge.
That's right. And it's the system, right? They don't have, they're coming through a system that doesn't teach it.
That's right.
our universities don't teach it. Our high schools don't teach it. So, you know, I'm kind of taking that and saying, hey, how can we as businessmen, because our pool of people to choose from is not great, right? It's shrinking.
Yep.
How do we create more?
Create your own market.
That's right.
Yeah.
And again, this is not it's not an enterprise. It's not gonna be a
it's a labor
charge
of love.
for. That's right.
It's a labor of love, just because
right.
we're supposed to do it. Dude, that's amazing. I didn't know this much about you, man. But dude, I'm blown away just how much you know what you're doing, man. And I really want to get to unpack your car business story, dude. Just because, dude, you know,
that's right. That's what got me here.
Yeah. So
that's what got me here.
Yeah, because I'm a big fan of watching people go for it, dude. You know, that's what life's all about, man. And I think living on the edge, I tell my wife has learned to deal with me. I'm the most comfortable when there's one foot on the plank and one foot is only God knows where it's going, dude. And so I try to keep myself there. No matter how well we're doing, that's the mindset that I keep every single day, is I got to keep pushing. Because as I look back in my life, when I didn't push, those were when things came unraveled. As long as I was pushing, I had to
stay in front of the wave.
I don't know if you've ever read the book Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil.
I have not.
So it's a great book. He wrote Think and Grow Rich.
I have read that book.
And then in 1938, he wrote Outwitting the Devil. And his wife was so horrified by the truth that he was revealing that she said, listen, I don't want you to release this book while you're alive. And then, so he died. She still didn't. She wouldn't release it until she died. Then it went to the estate. And then I think less than 10 years ago, his brother, her brother that owned the estate, decided to release the book Outwitting the Devil. And what he talks about in the book, he basically interviews the devil because he's Napoleon Hill and because he's dedicated his life to understanding the success and failures of people and what goes into those things. He earned the right to interview the devil. So you don't know
right.
if it's theoretical,
his alter ego
or whatever it is. But he interviews the devil, and the devil says, listen, I have 98% of the world under my fingertips. 2% aren't. And those 2%, these are the characteristics that make up the 2%. Free thinkers, people that will go do their own research. They'll understand what's going on. They're not following a narrative. And the second thing is a definiteness of purpose, where you have a flag pointed out there, and whatever you're doing, you might get off the road sometimes, you lose your GPS, but you have a definiteness of purpose. Those are the two people that I can't touch. And so how do we get that into, you know, how do we share that and get that into other people? Because life is not that difficult if you understand how it works. And that's where all the learning comes from, understanding, revealing things to you, you know, and there's, you know, it really upset, you know, it kind of gets to me sometimes because it really is that easy if you just apply it. Because what I've found is that if you do those things and you make promises and commitments to yourself, you really can't lie to yourself if you really meant it. So if you really do mean what you say, then the results will speak for themselves.
Absolutely.
Kinda, you know? But I thought it was really interesting that it's not that it's, hey, you got to be able to think for yourself, man. You got to be able to evaluate, problem solve, risk analysis. In growing up in Gen X, I was a Gen X kid. I was on the streets at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, and I was home at 7 o'clock at night. And going back to what we talked about nurturing our kids and protecting our kids, man, I think at the end of the day, I've done my kids an injustice in some of the ways I've done things, because I look back now and realize at 7 and 8, 9 years old, I was learning risk analysis, problem solving, having to get myself out of shit because I was a mischievous kid, dude, and into things all the time. So all of those things, I was doing big people things as a little person. So when I got to this point, whereas my kids, and they said Gen X, hey man, that was the lost generation. They want to protect their kids. And I started to evaluate. And I'm like, damn, dude, this is right. I keep on saying I don't want my kids to deal with some of the things that I dealt with. I want to make sure that we're not doing them any justice, though, dude, at the end of the day, by putting them in those situations.
I asked what happened to go home tonight and look in your neighborhood. How many kids are in the front yard throwing a football, riding a bicycle? We don't live in bad places.
No.
I live off Highland Road.
Right.
It's not.
I know where Stu lives. It's a great neighborhood, dude. Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I don't. But our kids, we barely let them out of our sight.
Yeah.
We. And I don't know why. I don't know if it's. I mean, I blame social media a little bit because you used to have to watch the news to get any information.
That's right.
Now it's immediate. So you didn't ever know how many kids were abducted or whatever it is you're looking for, like you do now, because the information is just so readily available. So I don't know if we're in like this fearful place as a parent,
I don't know either,
or just too
Connected.
focused on keeping them safe. I mean, at some point, my daughter broke her wrist New Year's Eve. She fell off a four-wheeler. I mean, I beat myself up for about 5 hours after that. I shouldn't have let her ride it by herself with her sisters. I should have been with her. I should have been. And then I looked and I said, I mean,
Yeah.
she broke.
Shit happens.
Shit happens.
Shit happens.
I mean, I can't. You can't control everything.
Yeah.
They have to be able to. And look, my wife says, Nick, you know what? Maybe this is the best thing that ever happened to her. She's starting to drive. She's fearless in an automobile. She has a little bit of a heavy foot. So my wife's like, maybe this happened. So she's maybe a little more careful in a car because she was about to take her driving test on the 11th.
Yeah.
She can't now because she's going to be in a cast,
Yes.
which kills me because I got to still drop them suckers off at school now.
You were waiting for that day.
God, was I waiting for that day, man. She could drive at least 2 of them to school.
Yeah, that was a good day for me.
I can just sleep a little bit later, go
Yeah.
to work, come home. Now back to the grind of bringing them to school. But here we are. So from 16 to 20, I journeyed through All-Star. Started off as a GSM at Toyota, go to Jubin as GM in May of 18 for Kia Nissan used cars. Then in November of 18, I take over the Denham corner, which is Ford and Dodge. And I love that. That's, if I can snap my fingers, go back, and if I could buy a store,
Yeah.
I'd go buy that store.
Because those are new, beautiful stores, huh, man?
17 acres, plenty of room, used cars in the middle, both great franchises. It was just dialed in. And right, maybe it's just because we had our people, right? And at that store, I figured out that even though I don't take a day off, I work 6 days a week. I take Saturdays now, but when I was working 6 days a week, I worked 6 days a week. I would work for one of my guys to have off. I learned a lesson that in this business, you can have success. You can have selling all the cars that you want to sell and making all the money you want to make, but your people can also have their time. Yeah. They can have a day off. They can go to their kids' dance recital, whatever it is, right? Baseball games. I don't want anybody to miss anything. And we did the best the store's ever done. Yeah. But during that summer of 20, my business partner, who was only worked for Matt, is kind of related to Matt's wife in a way, said, hey, call Lloyd up. Let's see if we can get our own deal. I was like, okay. I called Lloyd up. Hey, he goes, man, I'm on the showroom floor doing a sales meeting right now, talking to my son. I got to call you back.
So you were the GM of these two stores?
Yes, I was the GM of those two stores.
And who was the guy, your partner?
His name's Lee Carney, and he was the GM at Chevy on Segan, Hyundai, Volvo, and Toyota. So he had 4 stores.
Okay, all Matt stores.
All All-Star stores. So we were like the two guys.
Those stores were hard to break into, man. Even in my heyday, when we were the Cat's Meow, I couldn't get Matt to do direct mail. He wasn't a big direct mail guy at all, man. No. So I never really got a chance to. I didn't do a lot of business in Baton Rouge, so I was a little bit detached from. But I knew you guys were the big wigs there.
Matt is, although he's probably not my largest fan anymore, but I tell everybody this, and this is the true as it can be. If Matt McKay called me today and told me he was stuck on the side of the road and needed a flat tire change, I'd stop what I was doing and I'd go change his tire. Matt did a lot for myself and my family. So a magnitude of gratitude. So, but that'll always be.
Yeah.
And hopefully in sometime in the future, our relationship can mend at some point.
Yeah.
But so we work our deal with Lloyd, and it gets to, right, we're going through operating agreements, and we figure all this out internally, what our structure is going to look like.
You knew Lloyd wanted to sell?
Lloyd had mentioned something to me a long time ago, and he'd come stop by the Dodge and Ford store a couple of times on a Saturday, and we kind of drank some coffee together, and I knew he was ready.
Okay.
I didn't know if he would sell. I asked him what the number was. He said, Nick, I gave this, Troy Duhon wanted my stores some time ago, and this is what I told him, and he sent me that information. So we go do our due diligence, and what's your financial statements, and we go, and we're like, this doesn't make any sense, and, you know, we go through that whole thing, and he goes, I understand. It may make sense, and it may not make sense, but that's the deal.
Yeah.
So we come to an agreement, and the day you have to submit, right, your application to General Motors, and then you wait. So we didn't know a lot of this on this first one. We're very blessed. We both gave up large six-figure jobs at our current positions for this deal. To take a massive pay cut, which nobody's going to believe when I say that, but you understand what I'm saying.
I understand it.
For hopefully in the long run for it to work. Mm-hmm. So we're like, all right, well, we submit the application on the 15th of September to General Motors. That's when all of the stuff was done with Lloyd. He was submitting his stuff. Then we had to submit our stuff. He was letting, we felt like as soon as he let General Motors know, Matt would find out through somebody.
Gotcha.
Right? Because we're like a bunch of
so incestuous.
altar boy. We have to talk in the car business, right? It find its way back to Matt. Lee didn't want that to happen. He wanted Matt to hear it from us. So we said the 15th was the day. Okay. Well, which was a Monday. That Friday, I'm like freaked out. I'm like, man, I can't. I don't know if I can do this. Lee calls me. He's like, all right, we're ready to go. We need to sign our non-competes and our letter and this and that. And I go, man, I'm out. I'm out. I can't do it. He says, what? What do you mean? I said, Lee, I'm out. I don't feel comfortable. So 10 minutes later, he's in my office at Ford. What's wrong? I said, well, I'm uncomfortable. And so I don't come from anything. I don't come from any money. Mm-hmm. I don't have, like, what I have is what I have, and I saved it. Yep. And really what I was worried about, Sean, I wasn't worried about failure. I was worried about this is going to sound super arrogant, but I was worried about having a lot of success quickly and not having the cash to scale.
To keep up with yourself.
So as you know, in this business, right, the more you sell, the more the manufacturer requires you to keep in cash.
That's right.
I was worried we would have I was going to push all into this business.
And then be empty.
I'm empty. We're drawing fractions of a salary that we were making. And we would need a cash call to fund working capital. And if you don't have it, as you know, what happens? You get diluted.
Yeah.
If you don't have the capital.
Yeah, you got to bring somebody in.
Or the other partners put up your part and take your percentage.
That's right.
And I was like, I'm willing to be diluted. I'm in agreements with the dilution method if we don't do a good job.
Yeah.
But if I do too good of a job and we need capital, I'm out. I don't have any parents to run to. You can't go to a bank.
That's right.
Business is too new. You have no tax returns. I mean, you just got nothing, right?
Yeah.
So we reworked some things. And really what it was is I was happy, extremely happy where I was at. I had a home in Livingston Parish. I loved it there. I was comfortable. Mm-hmm. But ultimately the reason why I made the decision that I made was I asked Mr. McKay. My son was 3. I'm 45 at the time. But in 15 years, my son's 18. Still, I don't know what his future holds, being autistic. I'm 65, and I said, Mr. Matt, you're 81. If you're still alive, what's the plan? I don't want to be 65, having an 18-year-old that I'm still responsible for, looking for a job. Because we all know how that works, too, in the car business or in any business, right? We're not the most.
It's a young man's game.
It's a young man's game. So he either wouldn't tell me or he couldn't tell me. I don't know which one it is. He wouldn't tell me what the plan was, succession or whatever it was. So I chose I bet on myself. I knew I could outwork everybody.
Yep.
And then I said, so my partner had the money all lined up. And I asked, why do you need me? Why do you need me? And this is a big piece. I made him tell me. He did not need me. He could have taken 51% of the company, and the 2 money guys could have had 49%. He could have lived happy ever after, been a majority owner. I would have stayed at All-Star, and probably life would be good still.
Yep.
But it wouldn't be as good as if he took a risk. So this is the uncomfortable part.
Yep.
He says, because you outwork everybody. I need you because you're going to work hard. You're going to work harder than me. I said, well, fair enough. We know, both know that,
right.
But it's good to hear it.
Exactly.
Now we complement each other. And anybody who's listening to this that wants to get into a partnership, to have somebody as your partner that's complete opposite as you is very difficult. Mm-hmm. But if you can get past your egos, it's very rewarding.
It really is.
Because I trust him with all of the back accounting stuff. Any decision if I want to sign up a vendor, I'll run it through him because he's dug into the financial statement.
That's right.
All the time. So, and then on the flip side, if it's about automobiles or people, right, that falls on my shoulders.
So it's actually it's actually the perfect match, being opposite. You didn't want somebody like you handling. I know I don't want somebody like me handling
I
money.
I can't, right? Because I live my life by Post-it notes.
Yeah.
And then I look through the Post-it notes and say, well, that one's done, and I throw it in the garbage.
Exactly.
He has books, journal books.
Yep.
From now until who knows, whenever he started writing that he still keeps behind his desk. If he wants to know something that happened from 16, he can thumb to the page. It might take him a second to find the page, but he goes to and he can see it scratched out, right? Yeah. I scratch out Post-it notes. He writes it all in one book.
You and I need a guy like that on our team.
Yes.
We need him, dude. It's not
because I will spend $2 for every dollar that I make and look up and say, why am I not making any money?
But honey, I'm having fun.
We're selling 200 cars a month.
Yeah.
Where's all the money?
Yeah.
Well, sir, you've spent it all. Right? So we open LaPlace 2020.
Yep.
COVID hits us. We have nobody. It takes some time. So rewind, we quit. I'm in. So now we changed some verbiage in the operating agreement. Yep. I'm back he convinced me to go. I asked my wife, honey, this is why I'm uncomfortable, because she's also my voice of reason.
Yep.
She says, Nick, I believe in Lee. He will always take care of us if he told you what he told you. And so she called him and talked to him. And she says, I believe in him. I believe in you. I believe that the outcome, if Dylan doesn't come along and can't speak and he needs to be the porter at Geaux Chevrolet forever, then he will. The worst thing that happens is he works with his father until the end of time, until the end of you, the company, or him. And ultimately, that's not a bad deal for any of us. No. More so for him than me. But I made the decision based on our fourth child, who was not planned, who was God's gift to my wife and I, and is our why. Yeah. He's our why. He has changed our life and our outlook on life and eternity more than anybody will ever know.
Wow.
So I vowed as a father, we vow to protect our children, provide for our family first.
Yeah.
So I felt like one store, because we didn't think about anything more. We named ourselves Go Automotive Group.
I loved it, dude.
Thinking we would be in South Mississippi, maybe, Lafayette, maybe. Yep. If we got an opportunity in Baton Rouge, around the lake, somewhere in there. I also told them, if you guys want to buy a store in New Orleans, I'm out. I've done that. I've worked one time there. I never want to go back. Yeah. It's not a good place for me. Mm-hmm. The devil lives in me, in that city. Yeah. I stay out. Yeah. So we do LaPlace. We leave. It was not a good breakup. We submit the deal. We don't sign. We don't get the news until like December of 2020. We quit September 15th, put all the application in. You start interviewing warranty, you stay busy, but then there becomes a dead time where you just like waiting for General Motors to say, okay. We get the news. And
so was there a chance that they would not say okay?
We didn't know that, but there's always the chance.
Gotcha. But you didn't really think that it's like, man, I'm going to quit my job. This is a done deal for them. So it was theoretically,
Lee's connected in with General Motors, right? He ran the Chevrolet store. He was executive manager at Chevrolet.
Okay.
Had good CSI, had all that stuff. So he had talked to some people, but none of them were people in Detroit.
I gotcha.
Hindsight, it was a humongous risk the way we did it. It could have went really bad, but it didn't. Yeah. And now we are where we are. So we kind of go through that piece, and we're making our team. We're starting to make waves. We're doing well. Everything is clicking, and we're doing. Everything is watching all your money and figuring that whole piece out, and being nervous about that, and then. So
COVID hits, dude. So you are a COVID deal. You got in business during COVID.
We did. We got in business in COVID. Yeah.
Man, my friends that own car dealerships all over the country, they said it has been. They tell me, hey man, they haven't changed it back yet. I hope it never changes back to the way it was, because the old days were, you're running for a number. It's a race to the bottom, dude.
Yeah.
That's what I didn't like about the car business, dude. Is it's a race to the bottom. This is really weird the way this works. They put all this inventory on you, and then it's like a race to see who can sell it for the cheapest to get the most cars to win this pot of gold at the end of the month. And
that may exist
or may not. And then all of a sudden, my friends are telling me, Sean, I got a good friend of mine that runs. He's actually a Cajun boy. His name's Kevin Cook. He runs 7 stores up in West Virginia.
Wow.
Yeah. So called Straub Automotive, and so we do a lot of business with him. And he would, pre-COVID. We would do a ton of business with all of his stores, and then all of a sudden it went away. And he's a really good friend of mine. He said, Sean, dude, it has been, he goes, it's almost like I'm embarrassed sometimes because of the money that we're making. And, he looked at things in a pretty interesting way, because, I know you look around, man, there were people that were just gouging people and doing things. He made a decision, I remember early on. He said, listen, we're going to only sell vehicles. We're not going to sell anything over list, and what we're going to do is we're going to sell in our primary market area to make sure that we keep the service vehicles, and that was their approach to the whole thing. And he said, man, it has been the last 3 or 4 years have just been incredible.
It's funny you say that, and I think you got a lot of people who went the other direction, right? Mm-hmm. We're a Chevy dealer, so we had Corvette. And this was a fight internally between partners. We also took we have never sold a vehicle for over MSRP, not one, unless it had an additional value right? So we lifted it up, or we put no fabrics protecting. I mean, like wheel locks or whatever, right?
Like legitimate stuff.
Yes, we altered the vehicle.
Yes.
At any of our stores, we have not sold one for over MSRP. And we've sold Corvettes to people now from California to Maine. So I'm trying to become Ross Downing, right? With the Corvette deal, right?
Ship those cars all over the place, become known for it.
Yeah, just become known for something, right? In our little part of the world.
Yep.
From the general managers don't like it, right? Because they want to make all the money they can, and you may only get 5, 10 Corvettes a year, or whatever you can get. It was a decision early on from my partner and I that we're going to do this, and we're going to do it with ethics. We're not going to sell it over MSRP. We have maximum caps on all of our financial products, so warranties, all of those products are capped at a spot in profit, right?
Man, that's really
so nobody will ever be.
Nobody
right.
does this, Nick. Nobody in the car
we both
business
have
does it.
we both have daughters, and we both say we want our daughters to be able to walk into any dealership in the country and be able to buy a car like they would buy a car at our store. So that's our philosophy to the car business, right? That's what we want to give back, or we're trying to change from our legacy.
Yeah.
There's so many, right? Do you feel comfortable walking into a car dealership negotiating a deal? If your father wasn't with you?
I don't even feel comfortable going in there, dude. The way I haven't bought a car in a showroom for so long, and I know the car business. I don't buy a car from the showroom, man, because I don't like all the games, dude. So
My dad, anytime a young girl comes in, my dad's like, I have to treat her like it, because my dad has 4 daughters. There's 4 of us.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, it's like you wouldn't want somebody doing something like that to your kid if they take advantage of them, or just like
That was the one thing I didn't like about the business, right? You would, and that's Matt McKay taught me this, right? During the flood, he never wanted. If he walked into a store and he saw that somebody was taking advantage of, or he felt like somebody was taking advantage of, in his he said he would say 2 things. 1, my reputation's worth more than any dollar that I earn, and 2, I'm not worried about making money. I'm worried about keeping it.
Yeah.
Don't ever put me in a liable situation, right? That's the 2 biggest things, right? Yeah. Business, there's so many people looking to get you from a liability standpoint, slip and falls or wrecks or whatever. You just got to worry about keeping your stuff.
And if you don't treat people bad, man, and your staff knows that they're not going to jam you up with stuff like that, dude. They're not going to pull games like that on you and slip and falls and do all the things that they can, because they see where you're coming from. Well, listen, my experience is not the same, because doing those events, there wasn't no cap on nothing. There was no cap on anything. But no, but I get it, man. If I ever got in the car business, I would like to think that I would operate the way that you do, man, just because the money comes, dude, and you making that big deal on a handful of customers a month, dude, it really at the end of the day doesn't mean anything.
Does not.
It leaves a bad taste in people's mouths, even if they don't say anything, So I get it, dude.
It does. And then we ended in West Tennessee, right, Sean?
So you guys own the store in LaPlace, and then West Tennessee happened, 6 months ago? 3 months ago?
So West Tennessee, the first store was in, if you believe in coincidences, which, right, the Bible teaches there's no coincidences in life. Mm-hmm. I was uncomfortable in the first one. So then my partners say, there's an opportunity in Covington, Tennessee. So that's interesting. I spent 16 years of my life in Covington. So what it tell us? So tell me about it, right? So it's another Chevrolet store, standalone Chevy, on Highway 51 in Covington, Tennessee. I grew up on Highway 51 in LaPlace, and then I spent a major part of my adult life in Covington, Louisiana. I was like, I'm in.
You didn't know, that's it.
I was in. Is it blind faith, right? The store was cheap. The guy was getting out. He was in Olive Branch. That was October of 21. We opened that store. So
what size? So give me a little context. How many units was the LaPlace store selling when you guys took it over, and what about Tennessee?
So LaPlace was doing 15 new and 20 used. Now we're doing 80 to 90 total. Right, it's really about a 1-to-1 deal. It's 40, 45, 40. It's really close to 1-to-1. Maybe 1 or 2 balanced out. We think we think the store can do about 120. And that's what our
was that what
projection
Lloyd and
is.
them were always doing was 15 and 20?
No, I think
it kind of fell off, right?
Yeah, Lloyd left, right? So Lloyd lived in LaPlace.
Right.
Had his family in LaPlace. It's a tight community. And then after somewhere's in 08, he moved to the North Shore, and I think and he had people running it. And that
So are you
gotta
running
be
that
there.
store? Or are you there every day?
I'm well, unless I'm in Tennessee, that's both of our hubs.
Okay.
So we both go to that store, which can also be crowded, right? Because you have two alphas that want to make decisions. So that's the challenge, right?
Yeah.
And that's really where you need to respect each other's boundaries and hold your tongue. Or do your best.
Yes.
And speak privately, not in front of everybody, like the car business likes for us to do, right? Yell at each other on showroom.
You probably have learned diplomacy like a politician in that scenario, dude, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you kind of in a marriage, dude, just with your partner,
Yes.
and it's day to day, and people get to see you live and in color live it out, dude. So they're probably looking, I wonder if they're getting along with this. I wonder what they feel about this.
And our goal is to never let them know when we disagree.
Yeah.
They should always know when we agree, but should never know when we disagree.
Exactly. That's a good rule.
It's tough, right?
Oh, big time, man.
Just like in a marriage, it's tough whenever your wife says something you don't agree with to your child, and you want to say, "Don't listen to that."
Yeah.
But that you can't.
You can't
You cannot.
Maturity and getting your ass kicked because you stepped in a pile of poo too many times, dude, will teach you is a good education, dude. So
Humility is the best medicine for some cockiness.
there's no doubt about it, dude. And as soon as I step on her toes, she'll let me know, and it's like, all right, let me go get back in my corner and figure this out again. I screwed up this time. I forgot. There was step 1, you do this. Step 2, you do this. Step 3, you do. Shit, I missed step 3 again.
Yeah,
dude,
it wasn't on the Post-it note.
Right,
guys. I missed the Post-it note. Okay.
Oh, the remarkable. I have one of those I write my notes in. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. So, so we're 45 miles north of Memphis.
Okay.
On the Mississippi River. It looks just like here. So October we open that store. We're back and forth, like fly in and out or drive. It's not a bad drive. To fly from here to Memphis is awful because you got to go to somewhere else.
Okay.
So we usually drive. So then we caught wind that another guy, old timer, in Brownsville, Tennessee, which is like, I'm going to rewind. Right after we close in Covington, we found out that Ford Motor Company is building an $8 billion plant 20 miles away from us, where they're going to build all the EV stuff, which is a complete another show, the EV effing that we're about to get. So they're bringing 8,000 permanent jobs, and who knows how many supply chain jobs, and who knows how many trucking jobs. I mean, the whole area is about to double or triple in size.
Is it kind of like outside of Nashville where the Nissan plant is, that drove the Nashville market? It's probably something similar to that.
It's going to be called the Blue Oval City. It's like I don't know how many acres. It's it's multiple thousands of acres. You can see it from the sky. It's incredible what they're doing. Moving dirt right now is where they are.
Okay.
But so we have Covington, and then we caught wind of a Chevrolet Buick GMC store in Brownsville, which is 25 miles as the crow flies, maybe 30 minutes as you drive. And that's like northeast. It sits on I-20, right, or 40, I-40.
Okay.
Going from Memphis to Nashville.
Okay.
Cotton, soybean town, farm town. So Covington's probably 10,000 people, I think, census. Brownsville's 10,000 people. We opened that store in May of 22.
Your third store.
Our third store. Express. Now we call that one Express Chevrolet Buick GMC. With no idea. Because Covington's booming. I mean, when I'm telling you booming, it's booming. It goes from selling 20 total to 60, 70. It's almost caught up with LaPlace.
Jesus.
In a 10,000 community. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And all the business is coming from the community, or you guys are reaching outside?
50% comes from Tipton County, which is the county seat. The other percentage comes from Shelby and some surrounding Dyer County and some of the other ones. we also made the decision there to hometown discount. That's MSRP, and we're going to sell within the 4-county area.
Gotcha.
Anything outside of that, we're really not interested because we don't have. It was a small store, no allocation.
Yeah, you need units in operation, dude. It's service and all.
Correct.
Yeah.
So service is blowing up, sales is blowing up at Covington. We had Brownsville, which was doing better, but it brought us the GMC point.
Right.
Their PMA goes from Brownsville to Germantown. So our thought is maybe one day we keep the Chevy we make Brownsville Chevy standalone,
Spin those
go
off.
all the way down to Germantown and put the GMC point, which is in the wealthiest part of Memphis. Right, that's later down the road. So that one starts going. Well, when we close on this one, he goes, hey, my buddy Charlie Dunn in Dyersburg is thinking about selling. He has no heirs. He's thinking about selling too. He's a Chevy Buick GMC store. So it was Delta Chevrolet. So you can get across the Mississippi River in Memphis, and then you go 90 miles north on Highway 51, and you can get across in Dyersburg in the Missouri. So and Covington's in the middle. So we bought the third store just in November. We closed in Dyersburg, Tennessee, which is a Chevy Buick GMC store.
And it's up and running.
It's up and running, and it's, it'll make some money, but it's again, another small town deal where it's people. Yeah. What ends up happening is we run out of people. We've been able to move people, keep people from our organization to those locations, so they're entrenched in the community there. Their families moved, so we've had some, and what we did is we didn't want them to worry like we did. So we give them 10% of the store with the ability to earn more, up to 15% total of ownership.
Nice.
And they don't pay for the 10. So they get that from a commitment, sweat equity. Yeah.
Wow, man, that's really great.
So we felt like if Matt would have given us that, we would never have been where we are today.
Exactly.
We would have stayed. So we didn't want to have that problem. We said, hey, there's enough money to go around in this deal, right? Yeah. We feel that if you're generous up front, then your returns, and you don't have to look for those key man people.
So you use people from your LaPlace organization to go run those other two. So that's where you're grooming and training people and getting them prepared, and then it just becomes a pipeline. And when an opportunity comes, hey, if you're next in line, you get a shot. Man.
That's right.
So what a great recruiting tool for you guys here locally, man. That you're not just talking it, because there's a lot of them talk it.
Tons
you're doing
that talk it, right?
Yeah. Dude, they used to talk all that stuff to me, man.
Well, yeah. I mean,
one day.
You had Ray Brandt, right? Everybody would leave. Ray and like Eddie and all those guys, and they'd start their own deal. And but there's a ton of people that I guess you could say are right. That carrot, they dangle that carrot, but you never partake in the meal.
That's right.
And it is a machine that requires a lot of lubrication,
big time,
and cash. But
how's things? So all of my dealers, have you guys experienced the same thing? That it's been great the last few years, but I guess you better have saved your money because now we've just circled into this new time, and it really hit me. I drive a Range Rover. My lease was coming up in July or August or something like that. And I remember being in spring break in Florida. It was like March or April, and I pull up the book, and I think my residual was $62,000. You couldn't buy a Range Rover for less than $100,000 anywhere. Yep. So I'm like, man, Ibieta was with me in Florida. We're in Florida. He's like, dude, I'll find you one in California. But you also, when you went to buy a new one, they were selling $20,000 over list.
Correct.
He found some dealers in California, and then ultimately I wound up buying the vehicle. 3 months later, the book value was 60-something thousand, not 100,000, or what they were going for on the thing. What are we in store for coming up right now, Nick? That's what I'm wondering.
I think so. We just did. We lived through the largest increase in used car values that we've ever seen ever. But it was also coupled with low interest rate. So, and then we have tack on the inflation from the printing of trillions of dollars.
That's right.
But we were buying. It was crazy. We were selling Tahoes for MSRP, but going to the sale and buying Tahoes for MSRP. So we'd have to sell them for more than MSRP. So we would sell you a new car for MSRP, but I want you to pay more for this used car. Doesn't make any sense, but some people just don't want to wait.
Right.
And then you ran into the supply chain issue. They're only making the low-end stuff, and people don't want $70,000 low-end things. They want $70,000 things with equipment.
Yep.
So we just did correct, right? The past 2-3 months, used car values have dropped and come back to reality.
Yep.
New cars are coming in more frequently. I think what you have is some new cars that the factories are putting out that maybe the stuff people want is still tight. Corvette, Tahoe, Yukon, 20, heavy duties, 1 tons, 3/4 tons. Those things are still tight.
Yeah.
But that run-of-the-mill Silverado F-150 Ram truck, you're starting to get a big influx of those vehicles on a lot.
Okay, gotcha.
And they're starting to pile up because now you don't have 3% rates, you have 7% rates.
So what do you think's in store? Like
I think 23 is going to be tight.
Yeah.
I think you better write your floor plan interest numbers are coming, which is a huge expense for dealers. Mm-hmm. I think that if you're not good at inventory control, you will be swallowed up and spit out this year. And especially regardless if you saved your money or not. I think you're going to see a lot of the small dealers and the
used car guys.
I think they're done.
They're already popping, dude.
Yep.
Here they're going out of business. It's already started to happen
Yep.
here.
They're not going to be able to afford the curtailments that are on their used car floor plans, right? If we were paying 5, they're paying 12. Combined with the depreciation of what was on their lot. Mm-hmm. The past 2 months have been a bloodbath in used cars.
Yeah.
So as great as it was on the front side, we've taken some major loss on the backside.
So from a consumer standpoint, what are they saying the consumers are thinking right now? Like where's the consumers' minds? How are you reaching these people? Who's coming in and buying cars now that things have flopped to 7-8% interest rate? Do you see it? Is it a different kind of buyer now that's coming in?
I think what you have 2 buyers starting to come back. You have the one that maybe bought not what they wanted. So they're coming back to get what they want, only to find out that their payment is going to be way out of whack, right? So that those people are going to have to wait. They paid $10,000 over MSRP for something they didn't want.
Can't get them out.
You just can't get them out, right? And then you have you still have the needs, right? I need to purchase. Chevy just came out. They were a little late to the party, but they released 1929. It's going to take some incentive money now from the factory.
So it's switching back to the way that the business used to.
It is definitely switching back. You're discounting new cars again. You got special rates. The problem is that you've created all of these lazy habits for the past 2 to 3 years. If you haven't been training and you haven't been working, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
It's going to be trouble.
Because salespeople have made an ungodly amount of money over the last.
Yeah, it's been hard to promote because I'm going to go take a pay cut to go from the floor to
I'm making $30,000 a month selling cars, dude. Like with no responsibility.
I can only imagine what these Highline stores are what's going to happen. What the G-Wagon deal.
You see that, dude?
Whew. You want to talk about these guys who bought those cars for $100 over?
They were paying $250 for them, $250, $260, and
over.
They were paying $100
total.
Over.
Yeah, $100 over for now. That the car's worth $50 less.
I follow that guy on Twitter, the car dealership guy on Twitter.
Yes, so do we.
Dude, he comes back. He's coming back now and saying, "Oh, this aged well. This aged well." He was predicting all this stuff back when.
Yep. The Tesla market. There's a guy in the Northeast that is just. He's got $500,000 in water in Tesla sitting on his lot.
So you talked a little bit about the EV stuff. My wife drives a Tesla.
Man, what a pain in the ass those things are. They're cool cars. Yeah. They're a pain in the ass.
What the whole figuring out how long
where to
go before to charge.
Charge it. Yeah. Put a thing at my house and at my work and anywhere else. If you have a vacation home or a place on 30A or whatever.
It is a little bit of a pain in the ass with her. She's got to map out where's the charging stations, all this stuff when we go to Florida, and we're stopping.
You're not a mapper.
No, I'm not a mapper.
I
I'm
know
a sticky
you're
note guy.
You're a dude
I'm a
flies by the seat of your pants.
That's it, dude. Yeah. I'm not mapping nothing out.
Right.
Shit, where's the gas station? I just got to find a gas station with my car.
It's just, we traded one. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let me take it. It's cute. Yeah, it's cute and it's nice and, whatever, all of that stuff. It was a nice one. It was a plaid, so it was super fast and, everything that I like. But if you don't own it, you can't supercharge it.
Right.
Because you can't put money in the supercharger. You can't swipe a credit card at the supercharger. No. It has to go through your Tesla account. Well, I don't own the car, right? The dealership does. We don't have an account. I was like, man, I drove it. I had to leave it at my house and get somebody to pick me up because it had to plug in to the 110 wall. It sat for 2 days before it had enough power to get back to the dealership. It's just.
Can you imagine this 70% of people in New Orleans owning one of these and a hurricane hits?
I mean, just imagine what just happened with the cold weather.
Right.
We just went in Tennessee. It was negative. So they did 30-minute rolling blackouts through Tennessee. What if you have your electric car plugged up? You can't.
What about in California, dude? They're having rolling blackouts. They're saying, don't go charge your EV in California. What are you talking about? Everybody there is driving an EV.
Well, yeah, because they said by 2025 you can't sell a gas, or 2030 they don't want any gas-powered cars there. So it's not. So the factories have backed up a little bit. They've said by 2030 they wanted 50%. I think the original numbers by 2025 they wanted 50% of their vehicles to be EV.
Okay.
Now that doesn't mean that 50% of the vehicles on our lots will be EV. It just means like the 50% overall. So which you'll have the West, California, Seattle, Washington, those areas, and then you have the Northeast that are going to be, and then you'll have inner city stuff that's a lot of EV stuff, and then you have oil country that's not.
No.
So we'll have 5%, and they'll have 75%, so then you'll have the mix of 50. So the factory, I think, is backed up to 2035 now.
Really? What about this? You hear a lot about this stuff with these big corporations, that this equity inclusion and this and that. Has the manufacturers in the car business put any pressure on their dealer network to start adopting some of these policies that big businesses is doing?
So they came to us. They want us to be part of community charging stations. We were just forced at all of the stores, which is a large investment, to invest in, for lack of a better word, like a supercharger.
Yep.
I mean, the thing's huge. It looks like an ATM, twice the size of an ATM machine, wide and tall.
Yep.
And you have to put in a transformer next to it. Here in LaPlace, Entergy makes you buy a transformer for the pole that you paid for but you don't own. But if it falls down, you need to pay for it again. So it's it's just one of those things. In Tennessee, it's a whole different deal. So the investment here was, minimal compared to what it is in Tennessee.
Okay.
Tennessee's, and they're putting that huge Ford EV plant there, and it's like their network is if you think Entergy's substandard and you're complaining about your energy stuff here, Tennessee Power's even further behind.
Wow.
Now, they don't fall down as much as we do because of storms, but they don't have as much power. There's no way that these people are going to be able to charge. 10 people on your block right now couldn't charge a car at one time.
It doesn't seem like this the whole direction that they're going, man.
Seems
it doesn't
political.
Seem like it makes a lot of sense, just practical sense to me.
You know what? You know what makes me think it is not practical? Because both Honda and Toyota came out and said, I understand where y'all are going, and we're not following.
Wow.
The two leaders in innovation, in robotics and other things, Honda not just in automobiles, small engines, jets, right? Toyota has a whole completely robotics division. I mean, they're innovators in their industries.
Big time.
They said, we're going to continue to develop hybrids. We're not going EV.
Good for them, man. Good for them.
How do you not go? How do you not follow those two guys?
Yeah, it's logical, dude. Yeah, and those guys have been around forever, and they make the
got
best
all
of
the
the best
smart
product.
people.
All the smartest of the smart people.
When somebody says, hey, I want to buy a sedan, what do you tell them?
Go buy a Toyota or Honda, and you drive the
First.
wheels off of it.
Go look at a Toyota or Honda
Yep.
first.
Yep.
If you can't find what you're looking for in the price range,
Yep,
then we'll look at some alternatives. But try and find that first.
that's right. That's the way it works.
Everybody wants a Honda Accord for
and
their
nobody's
kid first.
listening to them.
And nobody listens to them.
Nobody's
They go
listening to
buy a G-Wagon or a Mercedes
Exactly.
for their kid. It's crazy.
Well, brother, listen. This is I'm glad. What is it? 11:50.
It's been a while.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we've been at this for a couple of hours, man. And so I got my schedule's kind of running up on me, and I bet you my phone is
Blowing up.
Blowing up. But man, I really appreciate you coming and spending the time with us. You know, man, I've as a fan of yours, man, just watching what you've done, dude. It's always exciting to me to see people step out into new parts of their life, dude. And I know you were at All Star, and then following you on social media, and then seeing where you're coming now, seeing your beautiful family, dude. I just wanted to. I'm glad we got the chance.
Absolutely.
To do this, man.
Look forward to do it again.
Yeah, dude. My hat's off to you, dude. You stepped out there and did it. I think you're a great example to other people. I think your story is a great story, man. You're a really good man, dude. So I'm
Appreciate
really
it.
glad that I got a chance to spend some time with you.
Thank you very much for having me. And I think if I could say it to anybody, and just as, and I'm sure you'd echo this, to anybody who's listening, that doesn't think that where they are today, if they can change it and become whatever they want to be, whatever that means to them, successful in whatever area that they want to be successful in, always stay learning.
Stay learning.
Stay learning.
And if they want to reach you, what's the best?
Yeah. Tell everybody. Just tell them
Yeah.
your social medias and all that stuff, Nick.
So you can reach us at goautomotive.com. That'll have the Tennessee stores on it as well. If you want a GMC here in Louisiana, we'll ship it down, but it's GEAUX automotive.com. We had to change that for Tennessee because they don't know how to say it.
Any of you non-Cajun people,
yeah.
GEAUX spells go.
Yes, not to be confused with GO.
Right, exactly.
So they can reach me there. They can always see myself on Facebook, my personal Facebook, call my cell. It's all over the place. My cell's 504-616-7910. It's been my same cell phone number my whole life. They can reach me, but they actually reach me. It's not somebody picking up for me.
Yeah, it's not some voicemail.
Right. But always stay learning, stay working, put your head down, work hard, because somebody eventually is going to recognize it. Right? There's a whole saying, and you might have to, I better remember it. You either have time or you have money. And when you have a lot of time, you don't have a lot of money.
That's right.
But whenever you have money, you want more time.
That's right.
So you'll trade it off. So if you're a guy or an aspiring entrepreneur, look for the guy who has money and wants more time.
And that's your ticket in.
Because he's always willing to trade it for more time to getting more money.
More money.
Right?
Yeah.
And we're not there yet because
No.
I'm working. I'm flying out early tomorrow morning. I'll be in Tennessee for the rest of the week. But it's going to be a grind.
Yeah.
And hopefully one day I'll be at that part that I can start trading off the money and time issue.
You can't cheat. You can't get one without the other. There is no shortcuts. You can't cheat it. You can't
There's not.
luck your way to it. You either do it or you don't. It's truly the way that it works, man. And so, yeah, dude, it's yesterday was a great day with the Tulane and the LSU, man. I tell you, my brother Scott was there, dude, and I can't believe I didn't wind up going. But
if you don't believe people in Louisiana root for Louisiana people, our whole store is made up. It's called Go Automotive, right? Geaux Chevrolet. We are huddled in my office watching the last minute and a half of the Tulane game. I'm on my DirecTV stream. It's on my monitor. We're watching 8 seconds. Bam, they score. it's the controversy where everybody's screaming, "Oh, it's a touchdown!"
Yeah.
They were trying so hard to give it to USC, but they couldn't because it was clear on the evidence, right, that it was a touchdown. Kick the field goal, buddy, and grown people were crying for Tulane.
In your dealership.
Yes. Because to Tulane, and I don't know, but if I had to guess, that win for Tulane meant as much for that program as 19 national championship meant for LSU.
Yeah. There's no doubt.
That was their national championship.
No question, dude. No question. My brother said there wasn't a dry eye in the stadium, dude. Crying.
Unbelievable.
He said, man, it was just incredible.
And then, you fast forward to, our thoughts and prayers are with the Hamlin family for that tragedy. And hopefully that,
that kind of,
he comes out of that and sees, and, people are, we go backwards to the places we don't want to see. That's his passion. That was his ticket.
And watching those men last night, dude, how emotional they were, dude. Listen, I'm looking at them, and I'm
from
looking
both
at
teams, right?
Angelina, and I'm like, shit, dude, my eyes about to start watering a little bit on this one, man.
It did, right? Because you thought of your son and your daughter.
Yeah. Like, how would you like to be
laid out? Yeah. And then you saw the two coaches, right? It's more than just sports. It's more than entertainment.
Yeah.
You saw that.
You
last
saw
night.
It was the goodness of people coming out last night, man.
Yep. And for those who are successful in business, that listen to your show, reach out to somebody that maybe isn't as successful, and ask them if they need any advice.
That's right.
Or if they need somebody to talk to. We're never too big.
Always.
You know.
Always.
Pass your blessings on.
Absolutely. You're a good man, Nick Richard.
Thank you,
Yeah, baby.
Appreciate it.